Hello everyone and welcome back to another edition of the GSMC Fantasy Sports Podcast, brought to you as always by the GSMC Sports Network. My name is Christopher Shepard. Thank you all for tuning in yet again. Happy Wednesday to you all. We have made it to the middle of the week, which means looking ahead even more to week 3 as we are at the midway point of the week. But especially Thursday Night Football coming up tomorrow. Another AFC East primetime game with the New England Patriots will take on the New York Jets. So we're going to give you all the betting odds. Welcome to the chat. Andre, one of my favorite commenters on this show. We're also going to be looking at Thursday Night Football prop bets. We're also going to be looking at more positional rankings as I give you my personal rankings based off of certain matchups for this weekend slate of games. And finally, I'm going to give you guys another shadow report as Andre, already with the questions, Pirine or Carson Steele off waivers? That's a very interesting question because both of these running backs are in situations where either their running back room is not decided yet, or in the case of Carson Steele, he will most likely see a lot more touches as the Isaiah Pacheco injury progresses. So that being said, I like Pirine's profile better, but I'm not sure how he fits into the whole Bengals system. In terms of Steele, I think that he's more of a fullback option. He could be interesting in the passing game. As Andre says, it's so hard because there's a chance they split carries too, right? There definitely is a chance because Zach Moss, Chase Brown already ahead of Pirine in the ranks there in the Bengals. So Steele certainly seems like the better option because of circumstance, but Pirine right now is the better player, I believe. I think that in terms of value, though, that's right. Pirine is on the Chiefs now. I'm sorry, I made it mixed up a little bit here because they played the Bengals. That's right. So Pirine's on the Chiefs and Steele. So that makes it a little bit more interesting because Pirine, I expect, will get more value out of the touches he does get, but Carson Steele kind of is more valuable as a Chief, if you understand what I'm saying. He kind of fits the ideology of what they're running on offense a little bit more. So it's going to be a weird one, but if you had to pick one, I would say Pirine just because of the experience, just because of the know-how of fitting into an NFL offense. So Pirine to me just feels like, even though he may get less touches in the system, he'll make the most of them, if that makes sense. But fantastic question. Good one as well. But getting back to what's happening on the show, we're closing out with a shadow report of the wide receiver cornerback matchups that could define the fantasy football week for you and others in your league. But before we get into any of that, I do want to remind you yet again to like, follow, and subscribe to the show in the network. Everything you do in that regard is greatly appreciated. Also, Andre is already doing that and exemplifying this in such a fantastic way. Keep on making yourselves available to the Super Chat, Super Things, and Super Stickers features on YouTube. Whether it be questions, comments, concerns, even tips and donations, anything that you leave is greatly appreciated. If you want your name included into the show, if you want your comments included in the show, keep on doing what you're doing and making the show even better. Without further ado, let us jump into our first segment of the day here. Just talking about an overall betting preview for tomorrow night's game between the Patriots and the Jets. And it's going to be an interesting matchup. Another primetime AFC East game. This one a little bit less glitz and glamour surrounding it, so to speak. Not the most exciting of games for the Thursday night slate, but it could be one of those games where we learn a lot about both these teams. The Patriots, as Andre said, I'm so torn if I want to start Ramondre. You should be, because I love Ramondre Stevenson, and what he's shown at the start of the season is that for as long as the Patriots are going to rely on him, he'll try and do his best to really elevate the offensive production the Patriots are able to produce. But that being said, he is kind of very risky because I don't know how long that this whole run game is going to work for the Patriots. I don't know how long they're going to be able to retain that offensive scheme without risk of injury or risk of being figured out as well. So I would say you should actually start him for this game, but be sure to monitor his progress through the weeks because they're going to face an encounter a lot more opposing defenses that will want to hone in on the run game. But that is a fantastic point as well, because he's such an interesting enigma of a fantasy player right now. But in terms of betting, and as Andre also says, over Rachaad White, I would say perhaps yes, because I think this is the game for the Jets defense to show out, as Andre as well. The thing about Rachaad White, though, is that as much as that Bucs offense is really impressive, he hasn't necessarily been the kind of player that I expected he was going to be in this offense. I think the best part of that Bucs offense is Baker's improvisational skills and the fact that he's getting more comfortable throwing to both Godwin and Evans, and it's shown through the first 2 games. But it is against the Broncos. You are right in that regard. And Rachaad White can be used in many different ways. But I still think Ramondre Stevenson is just one of those backs who just brings that physicality to every game. And we don't really know until he's stopped if he can be stopped. That's the point I'm trying to get to here. I think that right now Ramondre Stevenson holds a lot of value in this league until proven otherwise. Whereas Rachaad White really has underwhelmed me in the Bucs offense up to this point. Let's talk about how you can bet on this game as well, because this is a game where a lot of questions have to be answered for both teams, especially, as Andre alluded to, the Jets defense. That's going to be one of the key matchups, how Ramondre Stevenson fits into this Jets defense and goes up against this Jets defense, rather. So, looking at the overall numbers, looking at the overall spread, the Jets are 6.5-point favorites. They are at home, and it kind of makes sense, right? Because even though the Patriots have been impressive, they stayed in the Seattle game last week. They had the upset over the Cincinnati Bengals in the first week. I still feel like pundits and odds makers are out on them, because at some point there has to be a period where they have a significant amount of regression. I don't necessarily think it's as early as week 3, and this game is going to be much closer than it should appear, but at the end of the day, the Jets should be lucky to be favorites in this game, and I think they are deserved favorites, maybe not as much as 6.5-point favorites, because that's a very lofty spread and not giving much credit to what New England has been able to do. That being said, if we go back to last year, both of these teams were very horrible against the spread. The Pats especially, they're only 5-11-1 against the spread last season, whereas New York was 6-10-1 against the spread. So make of that what you will. Both of these teams do not perform well in spread situations. The over/under, let's talk about that. 39 right now. Seems very low for this game, but it's to be expected. Both of these teams feel like they're working out the kinks a little bit. The Patriots are trying to contend for as long as possible with this offensive scheme, whereas the Jets really haven't necessarily cohered, even though they had a pretty convincing win against Tennessee last weekend. So this game could go many different ways. I pretend to think that this is going to be a slugfest of a game, but who knows? Both these teams have their identities, or believe they have their identities so far, and they're going to want to implement them in this divisional game. And that could really pave the path for a shock result, or it could pave the path for one of these teams to take full command of this game. Right now, though, I will take the Jets. They're also at minus 298 in terms of money lines, and the Pats at plus 240. So you can see the unevenness there. I will take the Jets in this game still. And even though I don't think they will cover the spread, I do think that we'll see glimpses and potential of what we expect from this offense, much like what we saw in the Tennessee game. I think that Aaron Rodgers, isn't necessarily fully up to speed in this system. I think that it's nice that Breece Hall and Braylon Allen as well, the young rookie, had those big games. But overall, I still think they're kind of putting pieces of the puzzle together still. And it's not going to equate to immediate success until later in the season. Even though they can continue to stockpile wins, in this manner, like they much likely did against Tennessee. So I think the Jets win this game, but they don't cover the spread. And so ultimately, this is going to be a very hard game to bet on, is what I'm saying. I think that you're going to have to consider the fact that both of these teams, like I said, feel like they're building something, but it's just a matter of cohering and being cohesive, especially in games like divisional games. So, at the end of the day, this game, I say I want to go under, but if this pretends to be a blowout in your mind, and it could very well be if the Jets somehow come out there and dominate on both sides of the ball, but I still see this going under. I don't see the Jets really overwhelming the Patriots as much. I think the Patriots will be ready for whatever the Jets throw at them. That being said, in terms of my final score prediction for this game, I'm taking the Jets 20-10. I think that the Patriots just will run out of gas in terms of what they can do offensively. I think that Jacoby Brissett will be called into action way more than he wants him to be, Gerard Mayo, and ultimately the Jets will find different ways to continue to put up points. Maybe not as consistently as people would expect them to do, but they will find enough offense to get over the line. The Jets defense, much like Andre seems to think as well, will kind of get right in this game. I think the Patriots offense is a perfect one where you can feel comfortable playing many different schemes, playing many different coverages if you're in the secondary, and I think that they will get back to their best. That being said, it wouldn't shock me to see Ramondre Stevenson grind down another team, much like he did against Cincinnati, much like what he tried to do against Seattle. So, overall, it's a very weird Thursday night game. Let me know what you think in the comments about how this game could go, what you're thinking betting-wise as well. But we are going to take a quick break. Coming up next on the other side, we'll be looking at some popular prop bets for this game and certain players who I think can stand out as well. So we'll be right back after this short break. You don't want to miss this next segment.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.